Would it be the Mary one? No?
You're live, by the way. I unmuted us.
What?
We're live.
We are live, or we were live.
We are live. Hi guys, sorry about that. We actually did go live, but I just couldn't work out how to turn the screen off. So welcome to our 46th live YouTube session.
Don't you mean turn the screen on?
No, I had a holding screen that was blocking it. Right. Hopefully everyone can see us and hear us this time. We've tweaked some microphone settings. We've done a mic check before we've gone live. And you'll see I'm joined by the elusive Lee Grabham.
Elusive? I've only missed one session. Yeah, that link didn't work, so you'll have to send me another one.
Yeah, when you start talking a bit, I'll send one through. So, yeah, welcome to our subscribers and welcome to our live audience. It's
yeah, so not as big an audience this time, which is entirely our doing. We were hoping to do this from one of our new venues, but the venue we were planning on doing it from, we realised fairly late in the day, does not have a very robust internet signal, so that would not have worked very well.
Yeah, so we launched all the new venues or reopened the new venues last weekend. A little bit more about that later on, including a proper launch party and the details for all that. But one of the things we've been doing is trying to iron out all the kinks before we start really trying to publicize and push the venues. And one of the things we learned quite quickly is the phone signal in Knaresborough is terrible. We hoped we'd be able to do a live stream off one of our phones from there, but that is not going to happen. So the internet goes in a couple of weeks there. So we'll limp on through with the data that we're using at the moment, and we'll get across to there for a live session soon. It's an awesome venue, so I think everyone will love to go down there. So you can probably see we're back in the tasting room and the boudoir, as Lee likes to call it. We've got the red curtains behind us, and the sun's actually shining through them for a change. We're locking everyone in a room instead of taking them out in the sunshine, but it'll be worth it. Trust me.
And it's kind of warm now, but I wonder how warm it's going to be in 2 hours when we've all been locked in here together.
Oh, the windows are open, so we should get a little bit of fresh air coming through. So yeah, it was great to catch up with everyone a couple of weeks back at the birthday. So it feels like a long time ago now, but it wasn't actually that long ago. There's no guests joining us on the camera today, just the two of us, probably whinging or moaning at you all, but also celebrating and being cheerful to you. So bit of everything to talk about later today. But one of the things, as we always say, get the stout out of the fridge. We've got product s'mores to taste later on, so make sure you take it out. Make sure you let it come up to room temperature, because it's going to taste much better by the time we get to tasting it. And if you like the video, make sure you click on the like button and subscribe.
Oh, if only Pete was here to congratulate you on that point. So yeah, I just want to say a big thank you as well to everyone who attended the birthday bash. The feedback that's come back in has been amazing. The feedback that we got during the couple of days was amazing. Everybody was commenting on the vibe, being a really kind of relaxed, really welcoming atmosphere. All of the brewers were saying what a lovely following we have as a brewery. I don't know what kind of people they're encountering elsewhere, but they were saying that all of you guys were amazing, and that they were being asked some really kind of intelligent questions. They were really being quizzed on how the beers were produced. So we've obviously done a great job of educating you guys as well. Okay, so rundown of the beers that we're going to be doing this time. So first up is going to be this one here, which is Raise Your Lasses, which is a pineapple and coconut pale, which we must not call that a pina colada pale. Yeah.
You can't even say it, that's why we can't call it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's definitely not a pina colada pale, it's a pineapple and coconut pale. We're then following that with a Problem Shared, which is a 5.8% West Coast IPA that we brewed with McCall's. And then a bit of a novelty for one of these tastings, we're going to be sampling a beer that was not produced at a Brew York site. It's a collab we did when we went to see Matt and Michelle at Lakes Brew Co. But there's a bit of a story to that, so hence we wanted to do that particular beer. And then finally, we're going to finish up with the stout that Wayne's already pointed to, which I absolutely love the name of. And given I named it, I would say that. Brontosmorus, which sounds very, very Brew York in its naming, doesn't it?
I wonder how that happened. So I forgot to introduce ourselves like usual. So I've put the ticker tape up on so people can see who we are. This is Wayne and this is Lee. Just to confuse you a bit.
I always like to say you can recognise him by his big forehead, like another well-known duo. Anyway, it's a bit cruel, isn't it? So also in your box this time, you can find the 2 Star Wars beers, the Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So Mandalorian, a couple of tweaks to the recipe there. I think it's an improvement on previous years. Obi-Wan Kenobi, we have had a bit of an overhaul of the recipe, and I think it is a big improvement on previous years, even though the previous one was fairly ordered. And then you've also got another great collab that's been done with Elusive called Super Red. So you might remember we did a beer called Red Dancing a few years ago. Was it even a few years ago? Whatever it was.
It was.
And then we went to Elusive not so long back and then brewed an amplified version of that known as Super Red. So that's also in your box.
So you guys have got it in your box. We haven't got any, have we?
No, and I failed to taste it at the birthday party. I feel, yeah.
But we do have a couple of kegs of it, which we'll be pouring in some of our venues. So we'll just have to coordinate with the guys here and make sure that we're around when it's pouring.
Yes. Right. Thank you, Alan. Where do you store them?
So we should probably pour the first beer while... Is it me talking about it? Or
Well, I'm still doing this beer. So, yeah, as always, we're going to be talking about the recipe of each beer, the concept behind the beer. If there's anything unique about the production style, the style of beer, any of the ingredients are unique, we'll go into the detail about what that might be. We want this to be as interactive a session as it can possibly be. So for that to happen, we need you to get your questions in the room. Put your hand up when we ask. You'll ask us a question. For the benefit of the people at home, we will repeat that question and we will then answer it. For you at home, all you have to do is comment below the video and it'll appear in the comments at the side. And then Wayne, if he's on his game, we'll make it show up on the screen. And then we will address your question.
Yeah, if I'm on my game.
Oh dear. Oh dear. I hope you do the technology better than you pour beer. As we consume each beer, we'll also be talking about some specialist subjects. To start off, we'll be giving some insight into mine and Wayne's month, last month. We're going to be talking about a little bit of a run of bad luck that we've had this week. They say things come in 3, and my God, do they. We're going to get a little bit of an update on the new venues, and I don't even think Wayne knows this. So basically, at that point in time, I'm going to interview you, Wayne, about the new venues, their opening times, their food offerings, etc. When we might be having big parties there, there's proper launches, etc. And then at the end, with the final beer, we'll conclude with talking about what's coming up. So what you can expect beer-wise in your next box, and what events you can find us at in the next couple of months or so. So if you have any feedback, you want to be in the audience, email us at info@brewyork.co.uk. Okay. So the first beer is...
So first beer up is Raise Your Lasses. So if you haven't already opened your can, then you crack on with it now. We've got the... was it supposed to be Raise Your Lasses? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Not. Anyway, it is first up, whether it was supposed to be or not.
I followed the list that Pete sent me on Teams.
First in the magazine.
Oh, brilliant. So, yeah, Raise Your Lasses, which is the 5% not pina colada inspired beer that we, well, not we didn't, we stepped away for this one. The women of Brew York brewed for us. So we
women and non-binary individuals of Brew York.
Yeah, right. And so in particular, John, who's recently left us, worked on the recipe with the wider team.
Sorry,
Lee's just joined. If you're we're on echo, so
we're on mute.
The whole concept of the beer was a toast to women everywhere, but especially those working in beer and hospitality. So cheers to that.
Cheers.
I just realised we've had the giant can on screen throughout the whole thing.
Nice.
So yeah, it very much tastes like the cocktail it was inspired by, which is really good. So it's
not inspired by a cocktail.
It's got a classic hazy beer grist. So the grain bill of the beer is what we'd use when we're making a hazy pale. Lots of oats and wheats in there. And then we've also used pineapple and coconut to give us the not cocktail inspired flavour. So there's half a ton, not a quarter of a ton, half a ton of pineapple puree has gone into this beer. So that's why it's very refreshing. And coconut essence for the aroma and ease of production. So when we make Toncoco and the likes, we use actual desiccated coconut in there, which is very hard in the production schedule and difficult to handle. So we wanted to trial a beer that people don't know already and see what they think of the other way of adding coconut, which is using the aroma from the coconut essence. So I still get the coconut coming through quite prominently, which I like. I've only had like a couple of mouthfuls, so I can't really compare it to years of coconut.
I don't think it's massively coconutty, personally, for my taste.
But you're used to drinking that suntan lotion.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely refreshing. Yeah, definitely that. And in it, we've also used some hops that have character of coconut and pineapple. So we've used Wayne's Nemesis, Sabro, which is known as having a kind of coconutty, woody type character. And we've also used Brew 1, BRU-1, sexily named hopped, that has a pineapple-like character.
Yeah, we brewed a beer. I'm not sure if you guys will all remember this. We brewed a beer called, was it just called Pina Coladas?
I know it was the song. What's the song?
If you like pina colada.
If you like pina colada.
Yeah. So we obviously creatively named it If You Like Pina Colada, and we brewed that probably 4 years ago. No, it must be more than 4 years ago. It was pre-COVID.
No, it was fairly early on in our history because you and I were still working on the bar because we used to try and get people to sing it to get the beer.
Yeah, and we did it alongside that green beer that was supposed to be Blue Curacao.
Blue Hawaiian.
Blue Hawaiian, yeah.
Blue Hawaiian, yeah.
But we had to rename it Green Hawaiian. It was really tasty back then, but it was a very different type of flavor profile. It was quite, I don't know, this feels more like a pale ale with those flavors in it. So for me, it feels more drinkable. The other one felt quite sickly. I mean, it was many years ago, so people probably can't remember it, but it wouldn't surprise me. Didn't know that I can switch to you.
Oh,
yeah, because you put your laptop on, we can see Lee dual screen it.
I don't think anyone needs that.
No. So yeah, so really cool beer. The concept for the name, the Raise Your Lasses, and the branding and artwork on this from United by Design is awesome. So the Raise Your Lasses, which is what I mentioned earlier, like toast to women everywhere. But the guys at United by Design have really started doing a pretty cool style that we've really enjoyed recently. We use them a lot on our birthday beers, but also this beer in particular, and just lots of subtle nods and references in there, and a magic floating can.
I feel like we should probably offer an apology to the ladies of our team because having two white middle-aged men talking about a beer that's a tribute to ladies is probably not the most appropriate thing in the world. So I feel like one of you probably should have been on camera for this.
Just pass your laptop to the table and they can talk to people.
We'll put that right next time. The script came together very, very late in the day, as in about an hour or so ago. So that's why we didn't make arrangements for that. But yeah, with a bit more planning, we definitely would have had you guys on camera. So next time, sorry. Okay, so at this point, we always talk about what's been going on in the last month, and I prepped some notes, and I'll go first, and that'll allow Wayne some time to think about what he's been doing in the last month.
I need to think about it. It's just been bars. But,
so I suppose the biggest thing probably for both of us, if we do part those bars to one side, was the birthday bash. So it was probably more all-encompassing for Wayne and his team because they were doing the kind of events management side and prepping the building and all that. Whereas for me in the production side, our role really is to get the beers ready and then get out of the way to allow the party to go on, basically, if we could summarize it like that. But the birthday, as I've already said, was an incredible success. I think bit of a spoiler, might have inspired us to do more than one thing a year. But acknowledging the weather at other times of year, it might not be across the two buildings. Yeah. So there's your first spoiler of the night, which totally didn't tell Wayne I was going to tell you.
And and everyone who took the time to fill in the feedback form, hugely appreciated. We've got some great nuggets of information in there, and overall the feedback was really, really positive. So it's great to see that. I think the numbers are something like 96% really enjoyed it or really enjoyed it and would come again. And I think there was just one person who said rated it 2 out of 5. So that's that's pretty good.
I have a feeling they won't be back, so we don't need to worry about that. But yeah, there was a lot of common themes coming through. So variety of food. I think people commented on the quality of the food was good. but the selection was not broad enough. So we'll have a look at that, make sure we have a better range for you next year. A couple of shouts went out for a fish and chip vendor, so we'll see if we can get one of them next year.
One of the most amusing comments or feedback bits we got was it's cold. But yeah, unfortunately our birthday's in April, so it's that time of year, and some years we get lucky and it's warm, sometimes it's a little bit cold. So we're going to look at different things we can do, including the timing of when we celebrate the party. So hopefully that will encourage us to land on a warmer weekend.
Oh, can we drop those dates?
Yeah. It's the last weekend in April.
Last weekend in April, which I think is 25th, 26th, something like that. So we're kind of thinking if we go as late as we possibly can in April, we've got, what, a 0.5% chance more of it being sunny. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, the other benefit of doing it later in April is the accommodation prices in York go down because it's not Easter, Easter and school holidays. So that's one of the big influences on what we look at.
So we do think about you guys. We were trawling like hotel websites today, looking at pricing and working out which would be the most cost-effective option. And we've decided that the last weekend in April is going to be the cheapest. But that's only for those of you that book early. So get in now.
Get your tickets. Well, we'll be putting the tickets live in the next couple of months for the super early birds again, trying to be as organised as possible. And one of the other feedback, full of the spoilers today, that we got, which we'll try and incorporate, was that people missed the international breweries. So we went local this year because it was our 8th birthday, and we celebrated the breweries we worked really closely with over the last 8 years. Next year, we'll look at maybe bringing in some international breweries who we haven't necessarily worked as closely with, who might be quite new to the UK. So you get to try their beers for hopefully the first time.
Yeah, we're thinking, rather than it being entirely international or entirely domestic, maybe we do a blend of the two next year. So there's a little bit of something for everyone. Yeah. Okay, in terms of other things that's been going on in my Brew York world, we had a really good beer planning meeting where we pulled together Wayne, myself, the marketing team, part of the production team, and we planned 3 to 6 months out exactly what's going to get brewed and what's going to get released when. And that's always a really kind of exciting meeting when we're getting really, really kind of creative about all the daft stuff that we're going to bring you. So we're pretty much planned out to the end of the year. We're now just assigning names and brands and things to things. And then we're going to try and get some of that information out there a little bit earlier to kind of whet your appetites so you know what to expect and know what to get excited about. And I suppose the final highlight of my last working month would be I had a really good call, along with Yusuf, our sales director, with Ben and Chris Kamara yesterday. Mic drop. So you probably saw on social media a little while ago, we'd sent some artist images of something we were thinking we might do with Chris, otherwise known as Cammy. And it was only meant to be a prospective image, but I think some wires got crossed and Chris just popped it out to his 2 million followers. And he got something like 100 million likes.
100,000. 100 million, that'd be impressive.
That would be very impressive.
That'd be the TikTok video you're going to do when you're dancing to it.
Oh dear, no one needs to see that. So yeah, it was very popular. So we picked back up with Chris yesterday, and what we're going to be doing is launching that beer in pubs. So it's going to be Cammy's Unbeer-Leavable Lager. It's going to be in pubs. It's going to be in advance of the Euros. And we're going to be running a competition. And that competition might involve some of you getting to meet Chris.
So yeah, one of the cool things is we haven't got all the details nailed, but if you can convince your local to stock the Cammy Unbelievable Lager throughout the Euros, then we're going to do a draw, and whichever venue wins gets Cammy to come and join them for a match and meet the crowd and have a chat and interact with people. And to kick. Yeah, well, and to launch it, to kick the whole promotion off, he's going to appear at one of our venues and do this a similar thing. So we'll get some
for one of the Euro games.
Yeah, so it's going to be pretty cool. And,
so we are very excited, to say the least.
It won't be an England game. He'll probably be on TV duties when England are playing. But
yeah, he said he's at the not Norway. He's at the Denmark game. He thinks he might be at the Serbia game. So he's asked if it could be one of the other games.
Yeah, so really exciting. So my month has been launching 3 new bars, and well, coming out straight off the back of a birthday festival, straight into completing all the legals on new bars, and then getting those bars back open again, recruiting a team of people to run those bars, and all the other intricacies that go in between. So huge thank you to everyone who's been helping with that, all the team who've been working with me on that, and the new team that have come on board. It's been brilliant. Last weekend, one of the venues in particular, the Mitre, has been closed for 5 months, and it was so busy. The pub was just busy throughout the whole weekend. It was great to see people back out again. And then the other venues in Knaresborough, in Guiseley and Otley, really busy as well. And it's great to see the team handling or learning our beers really quickly and welcoming customers back in. So more to talk about on the venues later on. But yeah, that's kind of what my week after week has been recently. But really, really cool. And it was just, we've said a few times, I think, about how we'd like a traditional style boozer, to not just the cool venues we've got. So they're in the audience.
Don't go into too much detail because I'm going to be quizzing you on this.
We always feel that we've got a great local following in Pocklington. We've got a lot of they're in the audience tonight, and it's that local feel that we really wanted. And Pocklington's a great space, and the bar in Pocklington is great. One of the things that I'd then like is that atmosphere in a old-fashioned style pub that sells our beer, and I think that's what we've got with 2 of the new venues. So again, I'll wait for Lee to grill me on that later on, but it's pretty cool.
Cool. Just checking through the comments. So first question we've had in is from It's Good. Are you upset that you're not sitting in a beer garden right now? Yeah, look at the colour of my face. This is an authentic red. It's very warm in here. So yeah, I'd love to be in a beer garden right now, but duty calls. Any other questions you can say? Any other comments you want to put?
Yeah, I just been putting a few of them up as we go. So apparently everyone's staying at yours for the next birthday.
How many bedrooms do you think I've got?
The floor is fine.
The floor is fine. Okay, right. Well,
Grab a mansion.
Yeah, if only. So our very own Jess, basically watch every game at Brew York Walmgate, and you can catch. That is not a guarantee.
Yeah, you just got to.
Are you going to be putting it on in the bars then?
Yeah, so a question came in, are we going to be putting the Euros on in the bars? So in pretty much every bar we've got, we'll have an area where you can watch it with audio, and then we'll try and maintain a more traditional zone where it might be on in the background, but there'll be no sound, so that you can choose, if you're not bothered about the football, you can still enjoy yourself in there. But if you really want to watch the football, you'll be able to enjoy it with hopefully a few people alongside you. So POC, I'm thinking upstairs will be the audio space, downstairs will be it'll be on one of the screens, but you don't have to watch it if you don't want to.
If you happen to live in Osbaldwick or near Osbaldwick, I will be relocating my 4K cinema projector into the bar so we can watch the football there.
And then, yeah, we've got the new venues. Cooper's and Guiseley has a huge function room upstairs, so we're going to put a really big projector up there. You can probably fit about 100 people in there, so that's going to be pretty good to watch it. In Mitre and Knaresborough, there's 2 function rooms. We'll probably put the football on downstairs, which is a separate space. And then across in the Horse and Farrier, haven't decided yet. There's a couple of options there. There's a complete separate function room, or if we can find an outdoor TV solution, that would be quite cool.
The courtyard's fantastic there. So
and then, here in the tap room and beer hall, we'll have the Hoptail Lounge showing it on big screen with sound, and then we'll have it on the background TVs throughout the rest of the venue. And depending on the game, you might be able to get a little bit of audio on. We'll see.
And if you're not into football, remember that we have big spaces. So this will only be in one room in each of those locations. So don't feel you shouldn't come down. Just looking through the comments again, why is there a conversation going on about bechamel sauce?
Parmo's some food vendor for the birthday. Parmo was recommended, and it's just been the topic that everyone wants to talk about.
Because your family's from Middlesbrough, and Middlesbrough, the Parmo is the food of Middlesbrough, isn't it? Like a breaded schnitzel with cheese, bechamel sauce and cheese on top.
Cheddar. And then in a massive pizza box with loads of chips, and it's probably a week's calories in a nighttime snack. So you'd love it with being chicken and all. It makes you wake up with less of a hangover the next day.
They do one at Viking Pizza just up the road here with jalapenos and pepperami. Anyway, I think we should probably be moving on to beer too. Although
you're a bit behind.
I am a bit behind, and I'm supposed to be talking about the next one, aren't I?
So while you're doing that, I'll put some imagery up on screen. What are we doing next?
So it's going to be a problem shared next. So our lovely assistant Joanna's just going to be handing out the beers in the room.
I don't know about lovely. A hard-working assistant, Joanna.
Oh, meow, meow. Uncalled for.
Depends if you're in a good books.
Right. So the next beer up is one that I'm particularly proud of, and not just for the quality of liquid, but because of what this beer stands for. So this beer has been produced with Simon and Danny from McColl's Brewery. So McColl's Brewery for a long time now have been doing a beer once or twice a year called Men's Pie Club, and that's because there's a men's mental health charity near to them called Men's Pie Club. Can you guess what this Men's Pie Club do? Yes. They make pies. They make pies, they get together, they have a beer, they talk through whatever, and it's just a really comfortable social space for them where they kind of put their problems at ease. And Danny and Simon at McCall's have done great work with them for years to support that. But then this year, Danny wanted to do it a little bit bigger. So he then decided that he would create the Mayday Project, whereby he'd look at supporting other men's mental health charities and rope in another 5 breweries to assist with that project. So from that, 6 beers have been created. Each of them has a kind of men's mental health theme. 2 of them support one charity, 2 support another, 2 support another. Our beer supports a charity called Man Up, but it's Man Up ? Because it's supposed to be questioning that you shouldn't be saying to people just man up. People have valid reasons for why they might be where they are, and it's not a good thing to be doing. So, and what I like is it provokes the conversation. People don't talk about these kind of things, so people do need to talk about these kind of things. I'm a man. I don't often put my emotions out there. It doesn't come easy. I don't think it comes easy to any of us. So it needs to be encouraged, and anyone that's out there trying to do that to make a good support to those who are challenged, I think should be lauded. So Danny and the team set about creating these 6 different beers. They approached one of their hop suppliers, a company called Bath Haas. And what Bath Haas agreed to do was to provide all of the hops free for the project. And then the money that we didn't spend on those hops, we then give to the charities. McCall's Brewery then had in mind a release date for these 6 beers. And when we saw what that date was, we realized that was going to be a week after our birthday party. So we said to them, can we support in a further way? Would you allow us to do an early release of those beers at our birthday party? And if we can get some beers from each of those breweries, we'll create a bar at the birthday party, and any money that's raised by that bar, we will contribute to those charities as well. And we managed to raise an extra £1,000 through doing that, which is, I think in total, we'll be giving £600 to each of the 3 charities. But that's not massive sum, but we are one of 6 breweries doing that. So if other breweries have contributed in similar ways, and I think it's been such a success. I hope there will be a Mayday project next year, and if we're invited to be part of it again, I would love for us to be. I should probably name check those are the breweries. So the other breweries are Abbeydale, looking at my list here, Anspach and Hobday, Attic, Mobeer, Roosters, and of course McCall's themselves.
So one of the things I really felt for Danny and the McCall's team when they conceived this project, they tried to make some of the logistical things work smoothly. So we're all different breweries. We all brew in the beer ourselves. We're packaging the beer ourselves. We're then trying to get it to each different venue for launch. So rather than get 6 different beers from every single brewery all shipped to every single venue, we arranged for a company we use called Ebria to coordinate the delivery of that to all the venues. Ebria went into administration, were bought out of administration throughout this process, and were boycotted by a lot of venues. So then these venues then couldn't get their beer, and Danny had to coordinate getting all the different breweries to then try and get their beer to those venues to then make the launch work on time while still doing the day job, while still trying to do all these other things. So great job to get the beer out on time, because that was horrendous to try and deal with.
And it was a first-year project, and I think despite those challenges, they did a valiant effort, but I think lots of lessons have been learned, and there'll be things that'll change for when they do it again next year. So it's all in all a great success, and I think they're still pulling together the figures on it. So I don't know in total what they've raised for these various different charities, but I'm sure it'll be something good. And the third charity, which I've not mentioned, is the Grieving Pint. So Men's Pie Club, the Grieving Pint, and Man Up ?
So tell us a bit about the beer. What type of beer do we do?
We're supposed to talk about the beer at this point, aren't we? So given the brief was, you are going to take the money that would have been spent on the hops, and that's going to go to the charities. So we had to find a beer that's probably going to use a lot of hops to make this worthwhile. But the brief was also, don't forget that this is for men's mental health. So going a little bit silly in terms of ABV, given alcohol's a depressant, is probably not a good way to go. So we hit the middle ground, or our interpretation of middle ground, with a 5.8% beer, which is a West Coast IPA. So I think Wayne and myself have gone on record many a time saying this is probably our favourite beer style.
My chaser beer today isn't a West Coast, and the West Coast.
So we love this style of beer. So if we go back 15, 20 years, when you started to see the early migration of American craft import into the UK, they were all this style of beer. They were clear like this. They were very bitter. They were kind of resiny. That's what caused myself and Wayne to fall in love with craft beer, with American beer. But then over time, things changed, and we started to see the advent of the East Coast styles, which look more like breakfast juice and a little bit juicier and softer and not as bitter. But our preference has always been for this type of style. So we decided, given free rein, we are definitely making a West Coast. We'll just ram it full of as many hops as we can to make sure we're fleecing the hop merchant for as much money as we can. So into it, we've gone quite classic. We've gone with Cascade, Centennial, Chinook, Columbus, and a fifth hop that I'm not supposed to mention because it's the proprietary rights for that are not owned by the particular hop merchant. It's called Simcoe. So that one we had to source elsewhere, but it is a hop that I really do love using in this particular style. In terms of the grain bill, I have to give a little bit of a nod to Andy at Elusive here. So the original kind of early classic styles of a West Coast IPA would have a form of crystal malting. Crystal malt is caramelized, so the grain has been kilned and the sugar within it is caramelized. So it ends up giving a little bit of color and it ends up giving the beer a little bit of sweetness. But it can, over time, make the beer taste a little bit oxidized, a little bit kind of cardboardy. So I had spotted what Andy at Elusive does, and he makes a beer called Oregon Trail, which I would probably say is the UK's finest example of the West Coast IPA. He puts rye in there, which contributes the colour, but without the sweetness and without that risk of ending up with an oxidized-like flavour. So we've put a little bit of rye in this. And the other good thing about using rye is rye's kind of peppery. So it's like adding a little bit of seasoning to your beer as well to amplify the other flavours.
Plus it opens up the door to so many puns. Like
Go on,
Seven Seas of Rye we did recently. Recently, that was a good one. 7 C hops plus the rye malt. So yeah, anyway, the puns will come.
I was going to say, you said so many puns, so I kind of feel like you should be coming up with more than one at that point.
Rye your eyes, mate.
Okay, I thought I could catch you out there, but you have actually got another one. Right.
I haven't got any more after that, though. Sorry, that's me exhausted.
Cool. So what do we think to this beer, then? Yeah.
This is my type of
few
beer.
nods and claps in the room. What about comments online? Any on this one?
So it's on cast downstairs in the tap room today, so anyone in the audience can try it if they like it and compare and contrast. The the cask we did of this batch, like any cask special we seem to do at the moment, sold out within about a week of launching. It's really good. It's really challenging to try and make sure we maintain a selection of cask beer in our own venues where it's our own beer on all the cask lines, but we're getting there with it.
So here's some comments going through. So Captain VSC, CPT VSC.
Someone might be in the audience.
Yeah, man up should not be a phrase for ignoring issues. Everyone has a right to speak up about how they feel. Yeah, amen to that.
I thought you meant that one I put on screen.
They've also commented to say, I'll drop the first F-bomb, try. Absolutely fucking delicious.
I thought it was frickin'.
Well, it might have been. It was kind of asterisked out. And Joanna has commented, it's a beaut. Thank you, Joanna. Right, so moving on to our next subject.
Before we do though, another thing about problem shared. So it's one of the lessons we learned ourselves throughout the birthday festival, but also we got a little bit of feedback on was the charity bar we did, which was in the main tap room on the left hand side where we sometimes have food vendors. It was hard to get to the bar, so I think a lot of people ignored it and they went to other bars. So if we use that space again, we'll be making sure we keep an area completely clear of tables, so you can actually go stand at the bar, order your beer, and not feel like you're intruding on someone's conversation. So yeah, it didn't perform unfortunately as well as we'd like. We'd have hoped to have raised a lot more money for charity, but yeah, a lesson learned there. We'll make sure we
always next time. So yeah, our next subject was to give you some insight into what has not been the best of weeks for Brew York. So usually we try to be kind of upbeat and not tell you about the crap that's going on, but this week has been truly, truly special. So around about this time last week, almost to the minute, we had one of our vans stolen from outside Handley Tap. And then within a few days of that, we got told that Juice Forsyth was being delisted in Sainsbury's. And then yesterday, if you follow our socials, we've had to issue a product recall for a batch of Juice Forsyth from 9 months ago, which unfortunately has shown signs of secondary fermentation, and some of the cans have been popping. So they say these things come in threes. I hope it is threes, and we can now move on to some good news. But yeah, not been the best of weeks for Brew York. But on the plus side, Wayne and the team have launched the new bars with a great pomp, and so far they're looking like a really good success. So not all bad.
Yeah, no, the not the silver lining, but the distraction from these is the how well the new bars have gone, and that's the silver lining as such right now. But the other things, we're dealing with them. We have insurance for a reason, so we'll sort of take care of the vans. We might pay a little bit more on our premium next year. The Juice Forsyth delisting from Sainsbury's was a bit of a blow because it's been selling really well there. So it was really frustrating, but they're trying to modernize their range. I don't know what that means, but it's been in their range for a while. So I think they want to shake things up.
Yeah, so we supply to them through a third party. And for that third party, it was one of their top 5 sellers.
So,
yeah. And it's been delisted because Sainsbury's, well, they're entitled to their own strategy, have decided they want to give another brewery a go.
But what we'll do is we'll try and encourage them to change it to one of our other beers. I really hope we can get Coney in a national supermarket soon. It's honestly it's the beer I always tell people to try when they come in and they don't know our beers. Really, really enjoying that beer at the moment. So let's give it a go.
So yeah, It's Good's just commented, Sainsbury's seem like they are narrowing down their range to just Brewdog and Tiny Rebel. You can say that, I can't.
And then the product recall was really frustrating to us, and this is, I guess, another silver lining. So if we're not listed in as many supermarkets with Juice Forsyth, we won't be in a position where a batch we brewed over 9 months ago is still in circulation. So we're used to a position of being that beers that we brew are sold to you guys pretty quickly and consumed by you guys pretty quickly. But when it goes onto an ambient shelf in a supermarket for an unknown period of time, it means that every single batch we brew needs to hit the rigorous quality control standards that we do when we first brew these batches and send them off for testing. So every now and then something does go wrong, and unfortunately it did on this batch. and it's just become more prominent because it's been on a shelf on an ambient shelf for so
we're
long.
going to hold our hands up and say we are not blameless in this. We have done something wrong. We know what that issue is, and we put steps in place to ensure that doesn't happen again. But yeah, it's just a little bit painful while we're right in the midst of it.
Yeah, and if you did read our product recall notice, you'll see that there were steps we took. What, 6 months plus ago?
Last September.
Yeah, or even longer. Yeah, last September. Different things we do in our production process, which mean that this should be very, very low risk going forwards of anything like that ever happening again. But it doesn't help now because, thankfully there aren't actually many cans out there, which is the only positive from this. But if you do have a can, please follow the guidance on our website. Please contact us, and we'll take care of replacing those beers for you, and hopefully sorting out if there was any cleaning.
Joanna will look after you. So Kerry Riley, not usually a West Coast fan. It's too piney or resiny for my taste, but this is going down well.
That's the hard one as well. We've got. Oh, sorry, we'll come back to that as a question.
Okay. Should we do some questions at this point? I don't think we've done many. So anybody in the room got a question? Putting you immediately.
Well, someone is, but I've put it on screen, so they don't even need to read it out.
So Emma, you've realised the dark mild and beautifully punned ESB released. You released a dark mild and a beautifully punned ESB. Is there more classic styles to come?
I'll start with the pun. The ESB was great. This wasn't on us. This is, I think, Pete and the guys. We've got obviously the new feature on a lot of our traditional cask range is to focus on the style rather than the name. So with it being an ESB, the guy said Empire, and then you in the artwork you then know what the ESB then stands for in terms of the pun we've gone with. So it's really, really good. And then
I totally didn't get that.
Didn't you? It's like the original logo all over again.
I've got it. Okay, brilliant.
Wow. It's nice, isn't it?
Empire State Building, yeah. Got
and then,
right. As long as you got it.
The other one we released at the same time was Micklegate, so it's a Micklegate mild, but it actually happens to be a dark mild. So it kind of Micklegate dark mild doesn't sound as good, but that's where the name Micklegate came from, because we want to do a lot more, some more traditional beers, and when we do, we're going to be giving a bit more of a lean to.
How's the ESB going down, gents?
Very nice.
Yeah,
very nice, yeah.
good.
Dark mild, boxcar, eat your heart out. That's a very good time.
Oh wow! Right. Emma's just told us that Boxcar can eat their heart out because our dark mild's apparently better than theirs, and they and their double dark mild. They're supposedly the leading kind of craft mild brands, aren't they? Okay, fine. We'll take that praise.
We'll come back and tell you a little bit more about modern science, but I just saw what modern styles. But I just saw a comment that I thought was quite interesting from Morag. Perhaps the name's the issue. Bruce Forsyth danced off the stage nearly 7 years ago. So basically a year after we started Brew York, unfortunately, Bruce Forsyth passed away. And I have been getting this comment a little bit actually when dealing with supermarket buyers, when they've been saying to us that he isn't as relevant anymore to some of the demographic, and we thought, well, surely that's not right. Surely people, but yeah, it's interesting. Maybe
I asked the 17-year-old and friends, and they all knew who Bruce Forsyth was.
Well, question going out to you: if we were to rebrand it and wanted to still have it based on a Bruce, who's the modern Bruce it would be based on?
Jenna.
I'm thinking we can probably rule that one out.
Batman.
Don't break what works. Like through London, your experience was there was that one guy who kept coming back and back. So
I do get where they're coming from. There is one of the major supermarket buyers who's just said, look, the kids don't get this. They don't know who he is.
the kids should be buying it. I thought that was a group.
Yeah, Bruce. But, well, unfortunately, somebody already does a beer called Juice Springsteen. So we'd be stepping on someone else's toes if we were to do that one. But yeah, I'm gutted they got to it before we did.
No, two Bruces needs to come back, isn't it? Two Juices. That sounds weird.
I mean, there's Juice Willis, but we already had Goose Willis. And he's kind of retired now, unfortunately, for medical reasons.
But
But anyway, get your ideas in, see if you can do better than we do.
And then jumping back to the more traditional styles, yes, 100% we'll be doing more of them. There won't be huge batches, and when we do them, a lot of the times they will be cask only. So you'll have to come down to one of our venues to try them, or your local if you can convince them to stock it.
But part of the reason those two beers came about was Kirkstall are now doing an annual beer festival, but it's a annual beer festival with a twist, where they ask modern craft breweries to produce traditional styles of beer. So hence we did the mild, we did the ESB, and it was held last weekend. Joanna, you went over, didn't you? I think some other members of the team went over. I would love to have done because I do like my traditional styles, but I was otherwise committed. But yeah, I don't think you were massively overwhelmed with it, were you? But
I think probably
Put you on the
we need
spot.
to probably do it over 2 days rather than 3. I think it lost its momentum a little bit, and a lot of the beers was kind of sold.
right, okay. So when you were there wasn't enough
No,
beer
ones that weren't
diversity.
traditional that sold out first.
Say again?
It was the ones that weren't traditional that sold out
It was
All
the
right,
ones
more-
that weren't traditional that sold out first. Well, that's really in keeping with the theme of the festival. Right, great.
So
So,
someone in
There's
the
traditional ones at traditional places.
yeah, well, it's I think it's a great idea, and I think it's great that they do that because it differentiates the festival from some of the more modern festivals. But it doesn't help them with sales. It's like we love hoppy brown beers, or we love all these West Coast like this, but it doesn't help us with our sales. So we couldn't. Maybe we should do a West Coast festival and see if anyone turns up. West is best.
There's some good ones coming through in terms of what we could rename the beer. Juice Dickinson. So
we haven't
for any
done-
Iron Maiden fans out there, yeah, brilliant.
Juice Bubble Art, well, that's a
Oh, good old wobbly legs.
Why did I think of David Dickinson? I was thinking of like an orange tango beer or something, but yeah.
Juice Women is one that's come up. Steve Juice. I don't get that one.
Steve Bruce.
Steve Bruce.
Oh, Steve. Oh God, we can't have that one. I'm a Newcastle fan.
Like, do we need to argue?
I think Juice Dickinson's a no-brainer. It would
So,
be that one for me. Someone's Juice Wayne, yeah.
I just got one through from Marcel saying Juice Lee, a Bruce and Lee's hybrid with Lee's head on Bruce's body.
Juice Lee.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, you might not have seen this one, but years ago we did a beer called the Two Bruces. And it's because every now and again, this is not a regular thing, but every now and again we get called,
Bruce Wayne.
yeah, we get called the Bruces because Bruce Lee and Bruce Wayne. So the Two Bruces. So yeah, maybe.
Shall we?
Like I haven't got enough on my plate.
Shall we jump onto another question?
Go for it. So, Alan Humphreys, did you think you would still be doing these sessions so long after the lockdowns? And how many Beer Club subscribers are there now? So, Beer Club subscribers now, I think we're about 450?
No, 250.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really-
yeah.
I should look
we,
at the
we,
data
we,
more
we were,
often.
we were 450 to 500 during not long after lockdown. Down to about 250 now. But you 250 who still subscribe are the ones that we want to look after. So that's why we keep doing it. It's crazy when you said that. I just looked and then worked out that 2 months' time is our 4th year of doing this. So 4 years on the trot. That's crazy.
Did we
As long
think
as
we'd be doing it? No. We thought this was a thing for lockdown where we couldn't join you in the pub. The only way we could interact with you was across the camera like this.
We appreciate it.
So yeah, we didn't
Thank you,
think
we
it would
appreciate
last
it.
in the way that it has lasted. But yeah, yeah.
Have you enjoyed it and have you got much from it?
Oh yeah, have we enjoyed it? Have we got much from it? Yeah, but we wouldn't still do it. We're not, if we didn't enjoy them. One of the reasons why we've kind of taken it down to as simple a setup as possible, so that we don't have to. The team don't have to come down. The team who come down do it because they love to be here and drink alcohol and quiz us about stuff we probably forget to tell them during the normal working week. But yeah, we do it because we really like it. We like interacting with you all. We like sharing information with you, and we like a good beer with our people who similar
Yeah,
minds.
sorry, Joanna, before we come to you. And then after the pandemic, going to the kind of first events that were kind of popping up after that and bumping into those of you that had been watching online and telling you how much that had meant to you through that period, that was quite humbling. And people still tell us that today, that we kind of kept you going. It was like, well, I think it was probably the drink that kept you going, but thanks.
It was, but
We just did too. Oh my God, let's stay away.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that I think at the birthday party, we met subscribers who we don't actually know, but they know us through the.
Because they've seen you across the camera.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like friends we haven't met yet. So it was quite nice to meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. I like that. You were going to have a question? Oh, well, or was it a comment? It was going to be a comment, right? Okay.
And then when like this, Kerry's just put something on from the audience. It was, I do remember this. This was like the first time we had a live audience for the tasting, which was Pete was dressed as Bruce Forsyth. Wasn't he? It was
So yeah, we'd run a competition, and you had to do a video, and whoever did the best video would be invited into the audience. And Pete and Kerry did. Play your cards, right? Is that where you went higher, higher, lower, lower? That one. So they dressed up and done a whole video like that with Pete as Bruce.
I'll have to dig that out on the socials and reshare it for everyone.
What episode was it?
But episode
Oh.
probably about 6, I guess.
I couldn't tell you
going
what
back a long
episode.
time now.
It'll be a handful in because obviously we couldn't have an audience for the first few.
But yeah, it really sounds bad because we were talking before we went on camera with a few people about lockdown, and it feels strange to talk back with fond memories because of all the horrible things that were going on. But it really was a fun time for us at Brew York once we got through the initial scariness of whether the brewery is going to survive. But once we got into the flow of things and we were just being able to create and launch beers and just enjoy ourselves, going back to why we set up a brewery in the first place, and then not having to worry about how we sell the beer because all we did was can it, and then you guys bought it, so it made our lives so much easier. And it was the tastings that were so much fun because we were doing the job was kind of taking care of itself. We were doing we didn't have to think too much about that. We were at home on evenings, which was a rarity for us. Evenings and weekends, we got to be back at home, so that was nice. And then every now and then we got to interact with you all still, and we got to talk about the beers we've been brewing and hear what you guys have been doing with your time locked in the house and stuff, and what you've been enjoying. So it was fond memories despite all the horrible things that were going on back then.
Like you say, it feels awkward to say that though. Do we think there's a specific reason why the numbers have dropped? I think you'd have to say it's a combination of factors. When we started, we were one of the few doing subscription services. There's now a lot of competition out there. Cost of living squeeze. People are kind of evolved through craft and moving on to other things. People starting families. You name it. There's so many different reasons why.
Save you money to go back to the pubs again, or also the fact that we don't bring out 2 beers a week like we did during lockdown. So we can't fill a box with 12 brand new different beers every single time we put a box together. And then you've got the likes of some of the subscription clubs out there now where you pay the same amount every month, which is a really good price, and you can just jump between breweries. So you get so much variety.
But you need to pretend you didn't hear that. And stick with the choice
Stick
you've
with
already
us,
made,
please.
guys.
That one as well.
Oh, you got that as well, do you? Right, fair enough. Yes, room in life for more than one choice.
But we're going to keep doing it. We enjoy the tastings. We enjoy doing the live sessions, and well, especially now we can do them with an audience again. One of the things that we struggled with when we kept going in and out of lockdowns was going from doing it with an audience where we can interact with you guys and forget the fact that there's a camera there, and then talk to the audience at home. But made life a lot easier. When we had to do it in an empty room again, it felt really strange because you're talking to a camera.
Yeah, the biggest difference is when saying something, I'm saying something, and you want to see how it's landed. I want to see the whites of someone's eyes. If it's just a camera there, it's like, we kind of just cracked a joke. Do you think they found that funny? I don't know.
And I know we have got laptops in front of us at the moment because of the way that we're now set up, but we didn't used to have that, so we couldn't see what was happening. There was someone in the audience filming us, and we couldn't tell if people were enjoying the content or not. We just had to wait till afterwards. And
well, maybe it's sometimes better off not knowing, I guess.
Well, I guess, yeah.
Can I ask, if lockdown hadn't happened, would you have done what you're doing now in terms of this sort of situation?
Okay.
Or do you think lockdown has actually created that and given you a different opening and a different...
So the question has come from the audience. Would we have been doing this had it not been for the pandemic? And would we have otherwise have come up with it?
Yeah.
If some buts. I'd like to think we're
It's a big thing, you know?
no, we're an innovative, very creative brewery, and I'd like to think we do things a little bit differently to the next brewery. Would we necessarily have come up with this without being prompted to try and force that engagement at a time when everyone was stuck at home? I don't know. I'd like to hope we're that creative, but who knows?
We had to adapt.
Yeah.
We had to adapt quickly because of what was happening. What we were trying to do was fit in. Previously to that, we were coming up to our 4th birthday, so we were trying to look at what other successful breweries had done at that time and try and replicate what they had done, and then do it differently and hopefully do it better to try and grow our business. And then all of a sudden, those normal methods of reaching people and going to festivals and talking about your beer or putting new beers out there weren't there anymore, and we got into the position of thankfully we're at a scale where we had a good following to start buying our beers, but we then got into a routine of looking at what people analysing, what patterns people are analysing. It's my background as a former, well, still an accountant, but yeah, looking at patterns and looking at what we were doing on a daily basis in terms of picking boxes and noticing how much people were just doing new releases. They were buying every single new release that was coming out, and like, wouldn't it be easier if we kind of made people's life a little bit easier and did this for them? If it's the same customers buying beer off us regularly, why don't we put a box together for them every month instead of them having to choose those beers?
So I think that bit's a natural evolution. I think we would have hit on the subscription service. Would we have backed it up with this? I don't know.
And then that...
You did it before you.
Subscription existed before us. Brewdog, for example, the vanguard of craft beer, they were doing it for quite a period before we were.
I can't even remember how the YouTube session came about now, do you? Oh, yeah, well, yeah, lockdown. Everyone was doing like online things. Everyone moved to doing videos of some form, and there were bands out there doing free performances. There was all sorts of things going on. And,
what I've always liked about the way in which we've done it is it has been that extended period of time, and it is full engagement, and you get to drink the whole beer. There's other ones where I personally participated in, and they talk to you about 4 beers in half an hour. Well, I'm a good drinker, but I ain't that good.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to get through 4 in half an hour?
So one of my fun memories was in this semi-lockdown stage where we were still allowed to do things, but you know, when you had a pork pie with your beer and stuff like that to get out into the public. And
the era of the Scotch egg.
The guys from Thornbridge asked if I'd join them on their version of their subscription when we did our collab. I think it was when we did our collab beer, and I was sat in my shed at home. Set up a camera to film, and it was only an hour session, and there was like 6 different beers, and I'm knocking these beers back ready to get onto mine, and they're like, no, people don't drink all the beers, they just drink the ones they want to join in with. And by the time I got to do my talk, I was like 4 beers deep and drinking a pretty strong beer. It's just what we were used to from what we did.
My wife would say you were a little bit squiffy.
Yeah, it was fun though.
I think you should give yourselves a pat on the back for taking lockdown and handling it rather than just coming.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Comment from the audience was we should give ourselves a pat on the back for embracing lockdown and making the most of it that we could. Do you know, that's interesting? I was in this same room yesterday, and I was doing a talk to some other local business owners about scaling businesses. And one of the things we were talking about was how the pandemic had affected us. And like any other challenge, you either see it as a problem or you see it as an opportunity. And we saw it as an opportunity, but there were lots of others who decided to kind of bed in and stay where they were at that point in time. And I think that allowed us to get a little bit of a march on some of the competition. We expanded our business in that period. We built a factory out of what was this little tin pot operation down here, which is probably doing a massive disservice to what that was. So yeah, I think that probably got us 2 years. We almost did a 2-year leap ahead of the people that we were competing with at that point in time.
And unfortunately, there's been lots and lots of challenges to the industry for the last couple of years anyway, which has meant that a lot of our friends have unfortunately had to close their breweries down. But yeah, the COVID in particular accelerated some of that. So the breweries that didn't have canning lines or didn't have access to small package their beer into bottles or can, obviously really struggled. And as soon as that happened, they were always in a really difficult position to keep people interested in their beers. So as soon as
what the pandemic seemed to do was it took those trends that were already started and it accelerated them all. So like working from home, for example.
Yeah,
that was something that people were starting to do, and then all of a sudden you got forced to do it, and then all these businesses now realize, what was I paying all that money for an office for? And same with beer, where if all you did was cask, the writing was kind of on the wall. Eventually, I mean, what we're talking like 3-4 years ago, the amount of beer sold through supermarkets for the first time ever surpassed the amount that people were drinking in the pub. And it's been heading that way for so long. So if you weren't doing bottles, if you weren't doing cans, I'm sorry, but the writing was on the wall for you. All that the pandemic did was it accelerated that timeline.
So while we're about to probably answer one more question, let's get the next beer pour in, because I realise that I've been drinking my accompanying beer, but you guys don't necessarily have an accompanying beer because I ran out of my previous one 5 minutes ago. So next beer is our guest beer, which is Peach Me, I'm Dreaming. So we've got loads of questions we can come back to, but this beer is from our friends at Lakes Brew Co, who I'm hoping you've all tried their beers now they've been to the birthday, but also it's the second collaboration we've done with them.
And if not, why not? Sorry, if I could interject at that point in time. So myself and Wayne, which is quite rare, we both went across for this collab. We went up to Kendall. Or was it Keswick? I always get those two confused.
It's mint cake. It's
Kendall. I was right. Okay. Always confused. Well, by the end of it, pretty. So we both went up, and every beer that they served us was absolutely on point. And they're like us. They're an eclectic brewery. They do everything from lagers to sours to stouts. All of them were fantastic. And that was just while we were brewing the beer. And then we popped into Kendall after, and they had some of their beers on a bar there, and the best beer I had all day was their sub 4% cask pale.
It was low, that was 3.5%.
3.5% cask pale. Absolutely beautiful. Really one of the best cask beers I've ever drunk ever. So yeah, if you're not drinking their beer, you should be drinking that beer.
So a little reminder into how we got to know the guys from Lakes Brew Co in the first place. It was when they worked at their it was when they worked at their former brewery, which was Hawkshead, and just near Windermere. And a bit of a boo hiss moment there because Hawkshead made them all redundant during COVID. They didn't take
Hawkshead once upon a time was a lovely independent business, and they got bought out by, and I forget the name.
Lambrini.
We always know them as the Lambrini guys. Whoever owns Lambrini is the people that bought out Hawkshead, and then the pandemic started. And do you know what they did? They looked at everybody who was the most expensive on their payroll and made them all redundant.
So forget about how much they'd done for their business and all the rest of it. And but going back to how we met the guys in the first place, it was when they were all working at Hawkshead, and they brewed and launched Tonka, which was the 7.8 or 8%.
No, 9.5%.
Was it ridiculously strong Tonka milk stout? Was it a milk stout? It was a Tonka stout.
It was a Tonka porter.
And we've told the story many times on the YouTube sessions, but we basically were at Leeds International Beer Festival, and I think you had probably 3 or 4, if not more. I definitely had 2 or 3. And you don't usually repeat your beers, and we loved what they were doing. And at that time, didn't really know any of the wider team. We just knew we liked their beers. And then as we were in the industry a couple of years, we got to know the team, and just geeked out with Matt over Tonka use in beers.
I mean, Matt, when we were with Matt up in Kendal, got it right now, he was reminding us of a time when we fanboyed him. And we'd made Tonkoko, our very first beer with Tonka in. And apparently I'd found him at some event and I'd run up to him and went, I made this because of you.
And yes, so it was great to finally get to brew a beer with them a few years back and actually make a Tonka-based beer together. So every time we talk or do anything related to beer now, it's always Tonka. So when this came up, it was like, what should we do? Well, obviously it's going to have to be a Tonka-based beer, isn't it? And what we didn't want to do is what we brewed previously, which is a stout. We wanted to make sure that we utilised Tonka in a different way. And you guys came up with the Bellini idea. So that's your favourite cocktail, is it?
No, that's a whiskey sour. But, a Godfather.
Tonka. So Tonka. You're gone. You said this so many times.
Tonka is a tree nut that is generally from South America. Until of late, it was more used in the kind of perfume industry. It's an incredibly pungent ingredient. But then in the sort of last 20 years or so, it started to make it into high-end cuisine. So where you might previously have got like a vanilla panna cotta, you now get like a Tonka panna cotta, that kind of thing. But it's really intense. You don't need much of it at all. In the US, it's banned because it's got something called coumarin in it, which is a blood thinner like warfarin. But I don't know why they've banned it, because these beans individually, they're about a year big, if you can eat one of them, I'm taking my hat off to you, because they taste disgusting on their own. And you would have to eat 30 of them for you to consume enough of the coumarin to bleed out. But yeah, it's a wonderfully, wonderfully aromatic ingredient that gives this kind of almost almondy, marzipan-y type character to stuff. And when you put it in beer, especially stronger beer, it does this weird mystical thing where it kind of masks the alcohol. And why it works in something like this
Thins
is
your blood out. You don't take
because in stone fruit you have the pits, and in those pits you have arsenic, and arsenic tastes like almond. So it kind of complements. They play very nicely together. So anything like cherries, plums, apricots, peach, that kind of thing with Tonka, it's a real harmony. It works beautifully.
You like this one on screen.
Jack Parker, do you think Problem Shared would be better with jalapenos? I do not, Jack, but I think I know a man who does. Would you happen to be sat with Glenn by any chance? Jack's one of our brewers. And if you were, there he is. Glenn Matthews, where's the snake farm testing? So
it might be pouring in the beer hole.
Leading into our birthday, we were going to do these various different beers, pales, sour, etc. And we then put some of them to public vote. We put some of them to internal vote. And led by Glenn, who's our packaging manager, they tried to boycott the vote and make sure that we made a jalapeno IPA, which, yes, is a little bit niche, shall we say. But yeah, Glenn loves his jalapenos. Quite often has them in whatever he's having for lunch. And for years has been lobbying us to put jalapeno in a beer. So what we did was, with this beer, A Problem Shared, Glenn, Johnny, Jack, the team, they took, I think, the equivalent of about maybe 4 or 5 kegs worth of it to one side. And then they infused it with not just jalapenos, some other chilies. And then that was served at the birthday party on the main bar. And if you look on Untapped, it's one of our highest rated beers ever. Because I think the same people are trying to boycott, not boycott, what's the word? Hijack. Untapped. I think they want us to make it a regular beer. But sorry, Glenn and Jack, we're smarter than that. Despite your best efforts, we know jalapeno is not the mainstream flavour.
Well,
Not in beer, anyway.
I'm just disappointed. The state we found the staff room from the after party, I thought they'd have drank that whole 30-litre keg of Snake Farm, but
I
there's
think
probably
they tried.
25 litres left, so I don't think they enjoyed it as much as they're telling us. Either that or they were just really drunk by that stage anyway and didn't need topping up. But yeah, back onto this beer. So what do you guys think of the peach Bellini Tonka infusion?
It's got an
nice,
almost
isn't it?
floral like nature to it, I think, going on.
So it's really, really.
It's a lovely summer goal.
Yeah, and when it's good when you're trapped in a room inside when there's nice hot weather outside and you could be drinking it in, but it's definitely really cool. And like Lee said,
Not that sour, though, is it?
Yeah.
no, but I think
I'll drink that.
I think if somebody told you that was a fruit pale and not a sour, you'd probably go with them, wouldn't you? Yeah.
There is the sour taste, but it's not, it's not massive.
so for me, there should be like 3 stages of sours. They should be sold as. You should have your full-on Rodenbach intense sour. You should have, you should have your this style, which is really nice fruited. Well, it doesn't have to be fruited, but accessible sour. And then you should have the in between where it's just not going to strip your enamel off your teeth, but it's going to make you brush your teeth extra hard that night to clear make sure there's no residual.
I always like the extremes in these things, but yeah, that's me, I guess.
What's it described as? Sorry, I love the branding. I love the use of our lion on it. But
and there also is something slightly unique about their production technique for this. So most of us that are producing sours these days, we buy in a culture of lactobacillus. So lactobacillus is a type of bacteria that is used to create yogurt, and it's also present in massive quantity in your gut. It's one of the things inside you digesting all that lovely stuff. And to make sure that we make clean, reproducible beer, we use a single strain of it. But what Matt and the team at Lakes have done with this is they used Longley. I'm just reminding myself, Longley Farm. You remember the yogurts that you had as a kid?
Yeah.
I used to particularly love the raspberry one. So the Longley Farm, so they have their own culture that creates those yogurts. So years ago, Matt went and got some of that culture, and he used that to make a sour. And he thought it worked kind of well. And then he went, in the end, do you know what? I'm just going to buy the yogurts. So now he buys the yogurts and he makes the culture himself from those yogurts.
So fun fact, if you go for a walk near Oswaldwick where the production brewery is, there's a farm nearby and the cows on that farm produce a lot of the milk that goes off to Langley Farm to then be turned into the yogurt. So it's kind of like a big circle.
Completing a circle.
So I accidentally put a comment up on there, which I'm sure Emma will appreciate. I think you were referring to the fact that you lost the sweepstake today.
I missed whatever that was. Another fun fact is in beer, if you want to make a beer taste like peach, you put in apricot. Can't really explain it. For some reason, whatever goes on in a beer, using apricots makes it taste more like peach than peach does. They are.
Yeah. You just lose. So if you do use peach in a beer, you lose a lot of the flavour. So like when you use strawberry in a beer, a lot of the sugar ferments and you lose a lot of the strawberry taste. I guess it's probably similar with peach, where part of the apricot doesn't. The arsenic doesn't.
So Glenn had asked, where's the Snake Farm tasting? So that's the jalapeno containing beer that we were mentioning earlier. Joanna has already said that it's going to be on in our beer hall. So I think we asked today for it to be shipped here. So maybe from next week it will be on here.
I've been putting a lot of the comments on screen, so as they've been coming up.
Sorry, I've not.
So one of the things we should probably do while we're still able to speak and we haven't drank too much is talk a little bit about the new venues.
Yeah, so I thought at this point I'd kind of quiz Wayne on this because my life is production. Wayne's life is running the business and running the bars. So I don't know all of the answers to the things that I'm about to ask Wayne. So I'm going to learn some stuff now as well. So first of all, opening times of the new venues, because I know it's not consistent across the three.
No, not yet. Hopefully it will be longer term, but right now, the Mitre in Knaresborough is the only one that's open 7 days a week. So we've decided to go full on with that one and open it 7 days a week from midday until 11 p.m. most nights, but 12 o'clock on a Friday and Saturday. And that
bit I did know, and I probably should have said this to you time. Given that was the one venue that was closed, it seems kind of bold that we've gone straight in with the 7 day opening.
Well, and that's because Ben, our new manager, regional manager, who looks after the 3 venues, lives on site at Knaresborough now. So if he's struggling for staffing, he can always jump on the bar, and his partner Kate can also jump in and help if they need be. So that's where they've got a little bit more resource if we need it. And then the other 2 venues, so Cooper's was already trading in Guiseley. It never closed down. But what they did do is they reduced the food offering, and all of a sudden they closed on a Monday and Tuesday. So we stuck with their hours, which was Wednesday to, or the most recent hours, which is Wednesday through to Sunday. And again, Fridays and Saturdays open till midnight. The other days open till 11. And what we're going to do is, as soon as we manage to backfill and recruit a full team there, we're going to hopefully add Mondays and Tuesdays again there. And same story in Otley. So Otley, again, hadn't served food for probably a year. And because they haven't been serving food, the Mondays and Tuesdays had died down a bit. So they'd started closing on a Monday and Tuesday, whereas we're going to continue those hours, just do Wednesday through to Sunday right now, but we will look to add the Mondays and Tuesdays soon. So all of them hopefully will be up to 7 days a week, but we didn't want to go full on straight away.
Okay. I had a list of questions, but I think a better one's just come
this
up.
one, yeah.
Yeah. Have you met the Talking Crow in Knaresborough? Is this a local myth? I'm not familiar with this one.
I'll tell you what, we have met the town crier. So the town crier came down on the on launch last Friday. So he contacted us.
Full like regalia?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically contacted us in advance and asked if he'd like us to do a town cry for to celebrate the reopening of the Mitre under the stewardship of Brew York. So there's a video on our social media. You should watch it. Yeah, he came down to the town square at midday, did a big hear ye, and gathered people and like the Pied Piper brought them down to the pub. So it was great. It was really nice welcome to the town. So couldn't have asked for any more. So it was great. But the Talking Crow, no. I'm sure Leslie, who's our housekeeper.
What are we supposed to take from that? That there's a local crow that makes noises that sounds like it's talking?
I'm going to ask Leslie about it. So Leslie's worked at the Mitre for 17 years. Unfortunately, when the Mitre closed in January, she was made redundant from Market Town Taverns because they were selling the business to somebody else. And then we managed to step in and take over instead. But we have brought her back out of retirement. So she's now coming back to work for us 3 days a week, which is brilliant to have. So someone who's worked for the business for so long, worked at that place, knows everything about Knaresborough. And yeah, certainly every time I go and see her, she tells me a few stories that you guys all find interesting. I'll maybe tell you after a few beers.
Oh, okay. There's a conversation there to be had. Okay, so what are people going to expect across the bar in these venues? Is it going to be entirely our offering? Are we ever going to do guests? What are we looking at?
So beer offering it's a Brew York bar. As I said to the team to tell locals, you don't go to McDonald's and ask for a KFC. So predominantly it's going to be a Brew York bar. So we have all 4 signature cask beers pouring all the time, and then we have 2 rotational seasonal Brew York cask beers. And if we don't have seasonal cask beers because you guys the sales team have sold them really quickly, or we're running short, then we'll get guests on the seasonal line. So occasionally we will see some guests. And then when it comes to the keg beers, all venues have 7 signature kegs pouring. So we've got the 2 lagers, we've got the stout, and we've got the cider. So Osprey, Golden Eagle, Black Bess, and Big Apple always pouring. And then in the more modern styles, you've got Coney, Juice Forsyth, Lupuline always pouring. And then depending on how many keg lines we've got in the venues, either 8 or 10, we'll have 1 or 3 different seasonals pour in. So it's predominantly Brew York beer, well, almost exclusively Brew York beer, and then we also have takeaway fridges. So if you come to visit us in Knaresborough, you'll be able to get a couple of cans to take back on the train while you're travelling back to wherever you're coming from. And
Well, my mission is to get that cask in every pub.
What cask?
I'll allow casks in
every
Oh,
pub
yeah.
out.
Right. Okay. Thank you, John. So what about the food offering? I know this is still a bit of a, if you'll pardon the pun, moving feast.
Yeah. So
Where are we with food in each venue at the minute?
So right now, in Guiseley, in Coopers and Guiseley, we have Asian Street Food Shack, which is a Asian street food offering quite similar to what we have in our other venues in terms of the fact that they do bao buns, gyoza, and Asian street food. It's just a slightly different way of doing it because the owner is the head chef. He owns a fine dining. I can't remember what it's called now. We'll have to look on social media afterwards. His name's Wahid. He's a South African guy. He's a really, really cool guy. He does amazing food, but he really wants to do it like lots of fine dining nights as well as doing the Asian street food pop-up. So when I went in yesterday to do a few different things, he was like, "Do you want to try a bit of food?" Go on then. Not going to say no. And he did me a steak bao bun, which is really nice, rare steak with all onion seasonings and different toppings and stuff in the bao bun. It was amazing. Duck gyoza, which is really great. And then he'd actually taken some tom cocoa, done a reduced it down, made it into a chocolate mousse with a jelly finish on it. It was really good. And they've got some amazing photos of it. We wanted to put it on social media, but that's not one of his dishes. That was him just experimenting. So it was like, oh, you've got to put something like this on the menu. And so he's going to do some really cool things like that. He's actually from Harrogate, so he's doing a pop-up at Knaresborough next weekend. So he's going to be doing Cooper still, but he'll do a pop-up at the Mitre next weekend, which leads me on to the Mitre, which is at the moment rotational. So every weekend we're going to try and get a different food vendor in. But what we're trying to do is get a permanent vendor there where if you've been to the Mitre before, when you come off the train station, you enter into the pub. That's the top, the middle floor. If you go downstairs, there's a completely separate kitchen dining area, which is really nice. And then there's a huge beer garden. So what we want to do is with the permanent food vendor there, we want to have it slightly different. We'll brand that side of the business slightly different to the pub. So it feels like you do when you come into Brew York, the beer hall, where the beer hall is very different to the tap room. So you've got a different vibe, different atmosphere, but it's still a similar offering. So you can spend a whole day here. You can keep coming up and down. Kind of like that. And then last but certainly not least, in Otley, we've got rotational food vendors. So every weekend at the moment, up until September, we've got a different food vendor already lined up, kind of like what we do at Hamley Tap. But the difference is instead of them just being weekends, they're going to do Wednesday through to Sunday pop-ups. And from September, Nico's Comfort Kitchen, if you like their food at the birthday, they're going to be our permanent vendor in Otley because the guys are actually moving nearby to Otley. So they've offered to move into the kitchen. So that's going to be great there. God, I need a drink after talking so much.
Yeah, you did well there, man. Yeah, so, quite literally, as I said earlier, a moving feast. So we're still working on things. So as with the one in Otley, we have a defined plan. Others, we're still working on what the ultimate offering will be.
And I'm sure you can imagine with all the shuffling and the challenges with the legals recently, or to get the venue over the line, getting the food vendor lined up was always going to be difficult. The thing that I'm most pleased about is the fact that the Mitre has just been slammed throughout. It's been so busy from the first launch, even when we didn't have food on. So it's great to see that we've got what was traditionally a mixed pub being very, very much wet dominated. What I mean by that is people are coming in just for drinks. They're not worried about the fact there's no food there. Once we get the food offering lined up, we hope we're going to then build on the existing wet trade we built up, and then that'll become a really, really great pub for everything.
Yeah, I think we'd have to be really bad at what we're doing to not make a pub that sits on top of a station work well.
Well, it's the train strikes that kill us.
Yeah.
And then in Otley, so Otley is the one that I'm really excited about as well because we've got a huge beer garden to the rear of it. That's okay now. It's quite nice, but we're going to spend a bit of money there, decorate it in a similar way to But what I mean by that is Uncle Tony's going to be doing a lot of building work for us soon to do some planters, some integrated benches, and make a really nice enclosed area where we can have street food vans coming in, external bars, live music outside in an enclosed space. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, so great potential with all the venues, but I think especially the Otley one, where I think you can do so much more than it's currently doing.
Than it previously done, yeah. And then Cooper's once a month, every last Friday of the month, they have the Top Banana Comedy Club. There's already a resident there, and I went down for the first one. It was great. The whole place was just heaving. They sell about 100 tickets to to every event they do, and it's just such a good atmosphere. It's such a nice, like, live event space, music, comedy, anything like that. It's going to be really, really cool.
So for those of you so I will come to you in a second. So for those of you that don't know, Cooper's, you've basically got this old cooperative building, which is a very beautiful bar with some lovely tiling downstairs. And then upstairs is a proper event space with an actual stage. So it really lends itself to live music and comedy events.
Maybe YouTube live sessions where we get to stand on a stage for
in time.
100 of you can join us for a big YouTube session.
Sorry, you were going to have a question.
Just going back to your food part of the business, is it more beneficial for you to have a food vendor rather than being in-house, having your own food produced? Is that more beneficial to you?
So the question is it more beneficial to us to do the kitchen as a third-party thing rather than us try and do it ourselves? So we've kind of been a big believer from the get-go in that beer is our specialty. So we want to focus on what we do well. So to allow us to do that, it makes sense to bring in the people who are truly passionate about the food to do that element. And I'm not going to say that we're never, ever, ever, ever going to do our own internal offering. That may happen, but there's certainly no immediate plans for us to do that.
No, and part of the reason for that is one of the reasons we got this opportunity to acquire the 3 venues was because the combination of running a wet focused pub with a kitchen offering and as well as rooms was becoming a bit too much. Effectively, you've got to pay a full-time chef and you've got to pay a lot of staff, whether you're busy or not. The difference is that a business like Yuzu, who we have in the beer hall, they can manage their team really well because that's all they're focused on. They're not worried about all the rent rates, the wet trade, all the other stuff, because they're focused on the food. And then that gives them the time to specialize and promote takeaway, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, all those things. So all of a sudden they can find other ways to keep their team busy that covers their costs during the quieter times. Whereas if we had a full kitchen team in one of our pubs where we maybe have 2 or 3 meals in a night, all of a sudden we lose money on that night because we haven't all the money we made on the drinks has been lost paying the kitchen staff. So if we can keep it separate, they can find ways to keep their staff busy, even helping their other sites. So it works better if we all focus on in these instances it works better.
Yeah, and you'll see with like the beer hall that we've chopped and changed until we found the right one. And the ones that are really, really committed to driving their own business, pushing the Deliveroo, pushing the Uber Eats, that kind of thing are the ones that we want to be in partnership, the ones that are really driven to succeed in the way that we are. So, sorry, can we go back to Kerry's previous comments? I do want to mention that one. Thank you, Kerry, for giving me the first of what I hope will be 2 opportunities to plug the beer festival that I kind of organise, which is held at the Merchant Adventurers Hall, which is not a massive distance from here.
We should do a beer to celebrate it.
We kind of have. So yeah, once a year. So last year was the first year. This is going to be the second year. This year, 5th and 6th of July, we're going to be having a beer festival in the Merchant Adventurers Hall, which is a spectacular medieval hall. It's celebrating its 667th birthday this year. God,
you enjoyed last year, didn't you? We Slipknot playing.
Yeah, exactly. Pushing 700 years old. You just would not see this kind of thing built these days. Can you imagine approaching someone with a design prospect of saying, I want to build this thing. It's going to cost this and it's going to take a few hundred years to build. Just doesn't happen. So you're never going to see the like of this kind of building again. And to be able to host a beer festival in those historic surroundings, it's incredible. But on top of that, we do it to raise money for one of the charities that the Merchant Adventurers support. And that charity is to help underprivileged kids with their education. So I think we raised £13,000 last year, and they make it go a long way. This year we're targeting 17,000. I'm hoping we can get to 20,000 this year. And all you have to do is come and drink beer. It's such a hardship, isn't it?
Well, I might come down this year as well. So if I come down, you'll earn another £6,000. I couldn't make it last year because I was at the Roosters festival.
But and the Roosters
sure
event is I think it's the week before this time. So yeah, I'd like to say we coordinated with Roosters, but we got lucky. We're not clashing with Roosters, Suds and Buds this year.
But if you are going to Suds and Buds this year, I know an amazing hotel in Knaresborough on the train station. 2 stops up.
Although 2 of the rooms might already be booked.
What are you talking about? 2? You're not sharing a room with me anymore. You're two.
8 years in, do we still have to do that?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
anyway, I'll leave that there because I'm probably going to do another plug for this towards the end of the session. Another question from Alan.
Well, just the talking crow.
Oh yes, we have information.
Dresses in black and looks after the crows in the castle during the summer.
Oh, right. Alan has been on the reliable resource that is Google.
No, Sarah that comes to the meeting, she's from there.
oh, right.
You actually messaged someone.
Yeah.
Right, we've been informed that the talking crow is a lady who dresses in black to feed the crows at the castle in Knaresborough. Yeah, I would never have guessed that. Okay, but now we know.
So good one there. I've just put on screen from Matt. A new listener here. Is the live stream every 10th? No, sorry. We wish we were that organised or able to. It tends to be one of the first Fridays of the month. It can't be the first one because we can't ship our beer boxes out in time. So it's usually the second Friday of the month. What we do is we publish them online on our website because we sell tickets to if you want to attend in the audience. And we're trying to do a lot. Be better at now is to publish the next 3 events, so you'll know for the next 3 months what's.
So at the end of this session, our very final page in our little script here is to tell you those next 3 dates, and typically it is the second Friday of every month. But next month, it's hopefully going to be the 7th of June, which is still quite
pushing it for
the
first week.
Because the 14th of June, I'm going to be at Download Festival. So I'm sorry, I'm prioritising my love of heavy rock over you guys.
So shall we have another beer? I think it's about time. So the new beer is called. Who named this beer?
I named this beer, but I think you put us on the right track first. So I forgot actually. You came up with another dinosaur kind of idea, and we couldn't use that because another brewery had already done it. And that's how we then eventually ended up on this one. But I couldn't remember what.
Tyrannosaurus Rex. So was it? No, was it? I can't remember. No, there was something else. But it wasn't that.
Yeah. So basically, it's been brewed with Neon Raptor, and Raptor obviously dinosaur. So we thought, well, let's come up with a dinosaur-y type pun for the name. And you came up with a great one, but then we looked on Untapped, and someone had done it.
Had done it, yeah.
So then we carried on.
Was it just Dinosaurus or something like that?
I think it was. I think it might have been Dinosaurus. Yeah, but someone had done that. So we carried on kicking that ball around for a little while, and then eventually we came up with Brontosaurus, which we're really proud of.
So
because we're simple beings.
And we wanted the Jurassic Park tie-in. So I was then Googling afterwards. I was like, oh, do you think he Smorus? From the original Jurassic Park.
I mean, that's that.
Yeah.
That's that bad joke, isn't it? What do you call a one-eyed dinosaur?
Yeah.
Do you think he saw us?
Well, he tells the joke to his sister, doesn't he, in the tree? Oh, no,
that's actually in Jurassic Park. Yes, you're right. Anyway, so I've got in my notes here that this is called a toasted marshmallow porter.
Oh, yeah. So the 330ml cans aren't even out yet, so that's maybe why.
So we've done the 330ml cans for a specific subscriber audience. One of the UK's biggest. You can probably work out who that is. And for that, we decided to change the artwork because I said campfire porter because it's going to be smoky, it's going to be marshmallowy. But then we decided people's idea of smoke, it can be a bit of a turn off to some people. They don't like the idea of smoke. So let's not lead out with the idea of smoke. Let's just call it a marshmallow thing. And that's what we did for the 330ml cans. But the 440ml cans have retained the original design, which was to call it a campfire porter. So this was truer to my original vision. So in that, I guess we've basically told you what it is. It's a porter. So porter, let's do a little history lesson here. So porter was the original dark beer.
Is Guinness a porter?
Right.
Come back to that later.
Yeah, right. So Guinness, yeah, right. We'll do that bit later. So yeah, a porter was an elevated strength dark beer, and then you eventually started to get things called stout porters, which were stronger versions. And stronger in those days didn't mean stronger in alcohol; it meant more intense in their character. So you ended up having things called stouts. They eventually dropped the word porter from that, and then you had stouts and porters. And then historically, you would have a porter would be made with, I think it would be brown malt, and a stout, no, roasted barley, and a porter would be made with roasted barley. I've done that the wrong way around. Yeah. Porter would be made with roasted barley, and a stout would be made with black malt. But then Guinness came along and became the signature stout, and they used roasted barley. So it kind of blurred all the lines around that. Anyway, so that's the kind of history to stout and porter, and I really regret going down that rabbit hole.
Lost the track. Well, get yourself back on track. While you're doing that, I'm going to answer very quickly a couple of comments we got about the fully printed can versus the label. So when in a month's time or maybe 2 months' time, you'll see this beer in wider distribution in a beer subscription box, which we referred to earlier. And if we're going to do a big batch like that, then to reduce the amount of variables or the potential parts that could get broken in our production process, we try to avoid using the label applicator and the date coder. So 2 parts on the canning line that have moving parts that could go wrong. If you've got a fully printed can, we can pre-print the date code. We don't have to apply a label, and it means that hopefully the production packaging run will run smoothly. And because we were going for 330 ml fully printed cans, we decided that we'd take some of them very, very small batch because this isn't on public sale. Subscribers have got it, and then a very few, like our own venues, have got it. We wanted to do some 440s of it, and we just kept the printed can because they were on order anyway. So you're going to have to keep the whole can because it's going to be such a rare release that not many people will get to try it. So
yeah, I
enjoy.
If I remember rightly, we did 2 layers of cans, and it's 351 cans a layer. So not all of them make it through the process.
Less than 700
so
cans.
So there's less than 700 440ml versions of this in existence. In fact, less than that now because you just drank some of them.
So enjoy them, and then Lee will get his blowtorch out, and he'll help you melt the printing off onto your label book afterwards.
Nice, yeah. So this has been brewed with Neon Raptor, who are a Nottingham-based craft brewery, who are known, amongst other things, for their big stouts. I think the things they do best are perhaps the same things that we do best: big stouts, big sours. Yeah. Yep. So they have a fantastic reputation for those kind of things. So when we were coming to work together, it felt like a very natural fit to do this kind of thing. But we wanted to do something that wasn't as big as we would ordinarily do together, especially given some of its audience was going to be Beer 52 and we were working to a fixed price point. So we decided to push it as far as we can. So I think 6% still fairly big. But we decided, yeah, we'll do a pastry stout, pastry sour, pastry porter. Jesus.
You can tell it's getting to the 4th beer now, can't you?
Yeah.
And these weren't even the big beers this time. This is just a combination of a long week and.
I got that. Yeah. So this might be starting to take effect. So yeah, we wanted to do it a little bit more sessionably, and then what we wanted to do was to create that character of sitting by the campfire toasting marshmallows. So we've used Rauch malt, so Rauch being the German word for smoke. So it's Bavarian malt that has been smoked over beechwood.
And malt being the English word for malt.
Yes. So we've introduced some of that. In addition to that, we've used a liquid smoke compound, and we've also used a marshmallow flavoring to create this character. So you're not going to get oodles and oodles of smoke in this, because we know how much of a turn-off that can be to people. It was more that we wanted a bit of a hint in the background going alongside the marshmallows.
Yeah, one of the things we learned, and one of the reasons Viking DNA isn't in our permanent line still, is because the fact that it's a smoked port, whether it's very intensely smoked or not, puts too many people off buying the beer to keep it available all year round. And it's one of those divisive things. You put smoked on, and people who like smoked beer expect intensely smoked hot dog like flavors, and you put smoked beer on and people don't like smoke, won't buy it. So you kind of alienate yourself from a lot of the potential buyers. So we don't use smoke very often anymore, but what we do like to do is in beers like this, where we can call it a toasted marshmallow porter, and you're going to get the smokiness, and it won't put you off at buying it, because you know that the marshmallow flavors there that will counteract what you thinking is going to come from smoke. So hopefully you like it. I really like it. It's the first time I've tried it. I'd love to try this on cask. Can we have a cask batch? No,
Can we put that comment on screen? There we go.
You're
Right.
talking about marshmallow and smoke. I don't get that at all. I get coffee.
Coffee.
So
Interesting.
coffee would be from the
Beautiful espresso.
right. So comment coming from the audience that you're getting more smoke. It's coffee in the character. Sorry. So when you have roasted malts, the way in which they're prepared is very similar to how you would prepare coffee. So you're going to take a little barley kernel, a little seed, and you're going to pop it into a kiln, and you're going to roast it at incredibly high temperatures. Therefore, it generates flavors that are very reminiscent of coffee. So the kind of premier ones, roast barley, that's the one that's intensely coffee. And that's the one, as I just said, is used in Guinness. Hence why Guinness has that kind of coffee-like back note to it when you're drinking it. Okay. So yeah, just asked for a comment to be put on screen, which
I've
was
taken off again.
Kerry said, your illustrator is ace. So yeah, we are lucky that 8 years in, we're still working with a local company. They actually reside now on the floor above us. So we've turned the floor above into a kind of business hub, creative space. And one of the occupiers of that space up there is United by Design, who did our very first original brand. And have done all of our design work ever since. And it's great to work with someone who, is local and passionate in the way that we are. And for us to do something so stupid as go, we're going to do a beer called Brontosaurus. And then they go, boom, that's what it needs to look like.
It seems like a good
So
time.
literally with this one, we give them a word, they came back with that, and we went, yes, that's it. That's what a Brontosaurus looks like.
It's a good time to show this question, which I say from earlier, from Benji Beer.
Benji Beer, how has the new Brew York can branding been going down? I have a soft spot for the old branding. However, the new branding does stand out a lot more on the shelf, I feel. That's Benji Beer Walker.
Yeah, 100% that. We all have that. We don't particularly want to change things for the sake of changing it, but we got a reason for changing it. The old can branding, although we loved it, and it was what made it Brew York to us, we used to get people coming up to our bars at festivals and stuff and standing there and turning their head to read what we were putting on. And then it was the same as what was happening with cans. People weren't picking up the cans as often. And if you know the Brew York brand and you know you like our beers, one of the things we want you to do is to spot our cans from a mile off and know that it's Brew York, and the little subtle logo we had on it wasn't enough before. So all the different things we've gone down, all the different routes, we went with the branding guys. We really loved this concept and these ideas that were coming, because they still felt like Brew York cans, but they were having a bit of a consistent theme with them, and they were going to make it stand out a little bit more on the shelves. So we love what they've done, and we think that the artworks work really well. Unfortunately, in supermarkets, we haven't really had a chance to see the impact, because the D-list we mentioned earlier and stuff like that, we haven't had a chance for the new branding to kick off properly. But
but we know where you're coming from, Benji Bear, because obviously no one is more connected to this branding than we are. So we feel it very personally when we're kind of looking at and changing this kind of thing. But it's definitely done with the right intention. And yeah, when, like Wayne says, we look back at our old branding, it's hard to know what that beer is. It's hard to know who made it. It's hard to know the strength of it. Whereas I think with the new brand, you can see from some distance away, that's a Brew York beer. It's called that. It's that style. That's the strength of it. And in fact, we've even gone one step further now. Oh, and they're telling me it tastes like marshmallow and smoke. So I know immediately whether I want to pick up the can, let alone drink the can.
And a lot of you guys watching us at home and in the audience have been subscribers and fans of our beer for a good few years now. So you've got that brand recognition where you will spot it on a shelf. But a lot of other people who've never ever tried the beer or aren't as familiar don't have that. So they'll see it and it'll get lost amongst everything else. So it's like if you buy a new car, all of a sudden you notice everyone seems to be driving that new car.
I'm going to give Wayne a very, very rare victory in the Wheaton.
So if you know what I mean there, so when something's prominent and close to you personally, you see it more. So if you guys have an association, a passion for Brew York beer, you'll probably spot our beer more often. It doesn't mean it wasn't there before. It means that you can see it. And what we want to do is make sure more people can see it. So make sure that there's something that stands out to them, not just you guys who've supported us for so long. So yeah, it felt a little bit strange to change it, but I really do like the job the guys have done, and I think it works really well. So I'm going to put a couple of more questions on. They aren't always questions. I just starred them early, and I think they were just comments. So Jess was saying, God, that was a long time ago. That was about an hour ago now. Let's not forget the local delivery service in lockdown, which is how you got into Brew York in the first place, drinking beers with your neighbours over the garden wall. So it's amazing how many people know their neighbours now on the back of COVID. You'd ignore each other for years, and then all of a sudden, you're like, I haven't spoke to a person in a while. Do you want to tell me what you've been doing today? Back to subscriptions as well. There were a few comments at the time that I hadn't put on. So I've seen a few seen other subscriptions where you can add more cans, etc. Including the postage cost. Would that be possible with Brew York? Unfortunately not, because what we've done now is the subscription beers are picked completely separately to the normal web shop beers. So as things have got a bit more sensible again, and people are still ordering beer offers, but nowhere near as much as they used to, our online orders are now picked from the gift shop downstairs. We have a storeroom at the back with a good supply of beers. So the team who are sat in the shop all day, every day, now pick the orders, which is great because it means we can ship beers much, much quicker because they're on shift till 11 p.m. So if your orders come through at 11, they might be able to pick it and it might ship the next day. I won't commit that it will happen like that, but most times your orders should be shipping much, much quicker because there's people on shift all the time with the gift shop. But what that does mean is when it comes to a subscription box, there's no way that team downstairs can pick hundreds of boxes in one shift to then get it out to you guys. So Andy Waters still is involved in that. So once a month he has a fun day of building all your boxes and doing all that. So we can't add to the box right now because it's picked in a completely separate location. So now Lee's back. How was that? Good?
How was what?
Oh, you remembered to take your mic off, yeah.
Yeah. I'll just put it back on now. Although I did see former Brewdog Cameron.
Oh, it was Shooter Cameron.
Gunshot Cameron, or whatever he's called. Yeah. So Cameron,
MGC, Machine Gun Cameron.
When I first knew Cameron, he worked at Aviva where I worked, and then I think he did some other things. Then he ended up at Brewdog, and then most recently he was in New York, and he got caught in some crossfire, got
From a
shot,
drive-by.
and had to be flown back home.
So,
Over a beer.
yeah.
Oh, he's fine, but yeah, I think
Two gunshot wounds.
yeah, he took 2 bullets, but yeah, he's fine. Yeah, some kind of gangland drive-by thing.
Yeah, no, he was volunteered a couple of sessions.
He's never going to be short of stories now, is he?
So we've got another one on screen from It's Good. Are there any other breweries where the owners still have regular YouTube tastings? You guys tell us. I'm not aware of any.
One was to a Zoom one. There's quite a few actually.
Well, I
Is it
think
the
the
owners?
operative word is owners. Are there any
No,
others
it's
that
to
would have
say owners, but
Say no.
Bring it up for the win.
Emma says Brew York for the
do
win.
James Watt and Martin Dickey still do their Brewdogs TV show?
Well, apparently James Watt now doesn't do Brewdogs, does he?
What?
He stepped down as CEO.
Well, that shows how much I've been paying attention, doesn't it?
2 days ago, he stepped down as CEO.
I genuinely did not see that. I've been too much focused on bars. Wow. He's just owner now. Just.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Now he's gone all Tory. Yeah.
So another one then. I'm hoping Yusuf in the or Jess might know this or Joanna, but see you've been announced for Sunderland Craft Beer Festival. Will you be attending personally?
Yes, we will.
So we normally send Jess or Yusuf up there because although I'm from the northeast, I don't speak the lingo as well as these guys do.
And
there we go. We've introduced you as GSC, Gunshot Cameron.
Good, so
Just go put your face on camera so our subscribers can see the
So,
Sister man.
so Wayne just asked me, how was my loo visit? I said, well, I just saw Cameron. He was like, who? I was like, well, I used to call him Brewdog Cameron, but now I guess it's Gunshot Cameron. How
Have you got? Is a visible scar?
Yeah.
No,
Oh
the
my
camera's
God.
there. The camera's there.
They're not going to see it over there, are they?
There's an excuse to walk around.
No. Yeah, but,
Nice one. Cheers.
I mean, we are post-water. No, we're not even post-watershed, so let's not do that.
But
what were we saying before that?
Sunderland Craft Beer Expo. So Jess and Yusuf will be manning the bar. And
So, as a Newcastle fan, I'm thinking I probably wouldn't be that welcome.
well, is Waters not?
As a Sunderland fan, I would agree.
I was going to say, is Waters not doing it?
But my man would have loved your drink.
Good.
So Waters, our event coordinator, stroke employee number one. He's a Sunderland fan. He's Mackham, and he for his sins he goes to a lot of games still and punishes himself. But I thought he'd be up there doing it.
Yeah, I mean, he and I are great friends, but I guess that comes from trying to not talk about football.
All part of it.
So, shall we talk about the next bits, then we'll come back to some more questions?
Yeah, cool. So, in terms of what you can expect in your box next time, so what we haven't decided is which beers we're going to do in the YouTube, but what we can tell you is it's probably going to come from these 5. So, the next iteration of Hop Sessions is going to be out, so that's 009. I don't know why we did 3 digits to that. I know why we did it. So, the 7th version could be 007, 007.
But the funniest thing is when people come into the bar and they order it as, can I have Hop Sessions 007 or 008? Yeah, you can just call it Hop Sessions 8 if you want. It's a bit quicker.
Yeah, but we made that situation, didn't we? This time round, you're going to love this one, Wayne. It's going to be Sabra, Talus, and Citra.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. But to be fair, every Hop Sessions beer has been really good in lots of different ways. Yeah, can't complain. I'll still drink it.
And then next up, we've got a beer called Beyond the Binary, which is a 5.2% mountain IPA. So John, who's now departed us, was a binary individual who thought as his parting gift he would leave us a recipe for a mountain IPA. And it's going to be released to celebrate Pride Week, which I think is the first week of June. Am I right in saying that? Yeah. Okay, so that'll be around then. And then also we've got a couple of lightweight in terms of ABV, but heavyweight in terms of flavour sours. So you can have a beer called Flamingo, which is a 3.4% pink lemonade sour.
Yay!
And we're going to have Vice City, which is a 3.4% Florida Vice, which was a collab with The Garden from Croatia, featuring guava, mango, papaya, and passion fruit.
Hopefully, you guys got a chance to speak to Mario while he was across for the birthday.
If he was coherent and not drunk.
Oh, you took the words out of my mouth. Mario's awesome. Every time we see him at festival, he's the one that makes us feel sober. So he's a real nice guy. And we spent a lot of time with him over the last few years in doing the different festivals we do, and we love the opportunity to brew a beer with those guys.
And then finally, one of the others that might make it into the box is a beer called Black Tiger, which is a ginger stout that we brewed with our good friends Guilo. Coming in at 4.8%. That one.
Delicious.
Sounds nice.
That sounds
So,
Stout in the box.
Yeah,
sorry?
It's got to be stout.
yeah,
It
exactly.
has to be a stout, doesn't it? Yeah.
Doesn't matter how hot it is outside. That's why we just lower the ABV on the stouts to make sure that when it's hot, you're just still drinking them, but just lower. The one that, not that we could have canned it, but the one that would have been great was the Micklegate Dark Mild. So I had a pint of that when I arrived, and despite it being roasting hot when I first arrived, it was really refreshing because it's the lower ABV, and it's not a stout; it is a dark mild, but the dark color makes you think of stout. But yeah, it was.
And
really,
you've made
really
my
good.
decision. My post YouTube pint is going to be first of probably. Yeah, definitely coming straight home, darling. Yes. We'll be.
Well, the good thing is both our partners usually tune off by this time, so they probably don't know what we're talking about now.
Well,
Probably.
Well, when we started recording this, my wife
she's
was downstairs with her workmate, so she can't possibly be watching.
So Tom Frost asked, "Is there any big hitters next month?" Well, watch this space. Yusuf, he might drop a comment, but we've got a couple of really cool stuff. We don't know when we're dropping them though yet, do we?
Oh,
Yeah.
true. Yeah, still working on that one. Watch this space. In terms of events, major occasions coming up. So first of all, Wynn has told you some detail about the new venues, and we've got them online. But what we've not done is given them a bit of a big party to get them going. So we are aiming to do something at the May Bank Holiday weekend.
So the full details of that, and we haven't cross-referenced calendars yet, but we want to go down to them. So once you've got permission,
Yeah.
I've got kind of a free calendar that weekend.
So we're going to have to find a way, if anyone wants to play chauffeur, of finding our way between three venues while still drinking.
If John's tuned in, John will happily play chauffeur for us.
Right.
So we're going to go between.
Okay.
We'll bus at Knaresborough, and then we'll go
And then
back to Knaresborough and train back.
I thought you were going to say Pocklington. Start with a bus at Pocklington and then loop round them all.
Okay. Alan's volunteering to be chief coordinator here. So after that, 18th of May, you're going to be able to find us at Chester Craft Beer Festival. 6th to 8th of June, we're going to be at Liverpool Craft Beer Expo. Immediately after that, 7th to the 8th of June, overlapping with that rather, we will be at Poppleton Beer Festival, so one for the locals there.
And if you go to Poppleton Beer Festival, you can jump on the train at Poppleton, and 2 stops down is the Mitre in Knaresborough. Or 3 stops, sorry. I only know that because
You're going to work like the geographical reference to everything relative to
Chris,
Mitre in
our
Knaresborough.
financial controller, lives in Poppleton, and it's actually quicker now for him to jump on a train to the Mitre, and it's cheaper to go there than it is to come to here in town.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I should have read this before just committing it to paper. Also that weekend, so we're in 3 different places. Liverpool, Poppleton, and then we're in Stavanger, Norway, doing an invitational beer fest.
Does the Poppleton train go there?
Yeah.
To Stavanger.
Head to Stavanger, yeah.
Eventually.
Via Manchester, yeah.
14th to the 15th of June, you'll find us at Nottingham Beer Festival, Craft Beer Festival.
That's
Sorry.
a cool festival. It's next to Neon Raptors tap room. It's part of. They're on the same little market.
And then got a couple we've already mentioned. 29th of June is Roosters Beer Festival, which they call Suds with Buds. And then the weekend after that, Friday and Saturday of 5th and 6th of July, is the Merchant Adventurers Charity Beer Festival, which I was plugging to you earlier. So Google Merchant Adventurers Charity Beer Festival. You'll find a link for tickets and book more than you need because it's all going to charity.
A couple of other, not shameless, but a couple of other plugs as well. So next weekend is the Otley show. So if you happen to be in Otley for the Otley show, I might know a really good pub that you might want to go to. So the Horse and Farrier is open all weekend, and we're going to have an outside bar there, an outside street food vendor. So make your way down.
And we'll do it.
That's the Horse and Farrier in Otley next weekend.
And we'll do a couple of we'll do a couple more questions yet, but we always forget to do this bit. So your next YouTube, so next month, as already advertised, will be on Friday the 7th of June. That's not the second Friday of the month as we have been doing, because I'm going to be at Download. So it's going to be the 7th of June, the first Friday of the month.
So we are hoping, we were hoping to do this one at the Mitre in Knaresborough. So we're hoping to do that one at Knaresborough. So
assuming we have the internet up and it's working.
Assuming the internet's up and running, we'll do that. We'll book out the downstairs room so that lots of you can join us. It's an awesome venue. I might not have said that much, but yeah, it's pretty cool. And then Friday the 12th of July is the one after that. And then we're going to hope that that'll be one of the other venues. So I'm not going to say which one of the two venues yet. We'll have to wait and see what will work best.
I'm keeping our promise to tell you that we will give you dates 3 months out. The one after that will be Friday, 9th of August. But again, venue TBC. Okay, so that's our content. Let's do a few questions.
Well, no,
I didn't
get to all my plug-in. So did you know that there's a very big event going on in Knaresborough in June? It's called the bed race.
Bed race thing.
So the Knaresborough bed race is apparently it's a huge thing, and I didn't know this. But the whole of Knaresborough is just like a huge crowd of people. So there might be a really good outside bar and food offering at the Mitre in Knaresborough if you want to get the train there and pop in. You're gonna not this year, we're too late, but next year.
How does the bed race work? Do you have to carry people on the bed?
Pushing a bed around this whole. Yeah.
Does somebody have to be on the bed?
Yeah.
Jesus,
So I've got that role. I'll sit on the bed and then yeah.
Tony built the bed.
Tony will build it. Yeah.
I take it you put the beds on wheels, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Okay, right.
But that's going to be pretty cool. So, yeah, we're going to announce more and more. We're going to do as much as we can from the new venues to move things around, as well as keep the existing venues, the existing venues relevant still. So we're going to still do things from them. But it's just exciting times to go to new spaces and see them and show you guys what we're doing there. So Maybank Holiday Whitsun, I think they call it. Come and see us at Whitsun. And if you can't make it to Whitsun, then come to a YouTube session instead.
Okay. So any final questions before we conclude for the evening? Hang on. Yes.
I've got one. We run a holiday apartment and we use local beers to put into the holiday apartment. And I prefer bottles. What made you decide to go for cans? Oh,
you've gone for a big subject there. So the lady in the audience has just said that she operates a local holiday business and you prefer bottles to cans. So why would we go for cans over bottles? Many reasons, premier of which is quality. So that little cap that you have sat on top of the bottle is not a perfect seal. So over time, air is getting in, and air is the enemy of any form of alcohol. So air and alcohol equals vinegar. So it's going to oxidize. In the early days, it's going to taste like cardboard. It's eventually going to end up tasting like vinegar. So with the can, that seal at the top, fully sealed. There was no possible air ingress into there. Beyond that, aluminium is more recyclable than glass. Marketing-wise, you've got full top-to-tail opportunity, whereas on the bottle, it's generally that little bit around the middle. From a quality perspective, another one, glass, light can get through, and light is going to impact your product. Okay. So if your product has hops in, the penetration of light through converts certain products within it. It ends up with your beer tasting, they use the phrase skunky. In certain styles of beer like Heineken, it's a desirable flavour. It's part of how that beer tastes. And that's because they have green glass, some light gets through, it transforms the flavour of their hops.
George Ezra song, Green Glass.
That would be the one. So there's a reason that you predominantly see beer in brown glass. Because brown glass excludes 98% of light, but still lets out 2%. So if you see anything in clear glass, if you see anything in green glass, for the most part, they've been chemically stabilized to not be subjected to the interaction with light.
There's two more things. Like environmentally, the weight of a bottle is so much heavier than an empty can. So once you put the beer in it, it's going to cost more. There's going to be higher CO2 emissions to transport it.
And therefore, it's more transportable. They stack better than bottles do. So
And then every now and then you do have an accident in the brewery. So our former head brewer on his penultimate day, I don't think we've put that video on YouTube yet, but the whole pallet of cans in can collars just fell and just spread out over the whole brewery floor. So if they were glass bottles, they would have smashed and we'd have lost it all. The beer is still intact. We, if you visit any of our venues, you can buy some of the dented cans on the way out as a nice cheap bonus, because the beer is still fine in most of the cans. The ones that were really bad, we've had to destroy. But the difference would have been that the whole batch would have probably been wiped out, whereas the maybe 3/4 of the batch was saved in this.
But I get the sentiment of the question. It's the same reason why it's hard to sell canned beer into restaurants, because there's a certain prestige associated with a product in glass. So yeah, we work hard to try and change that kind of stigma, that expectation. But yeah, it's a long project.
And it's hard.
Good answer to the question.
Well, when we first started 8 years ago, there was the cans weren't in. Well, the association with cans was what the mainstream macro breweries had done, which was can means crap, bottles are good, and it's changed a lot over the years. But it was hard to convince people that this is the way. And we invested in cans.
And that was a price association. People were buying crap beer for 4 for a $5 or whatever it was in the supermarket, and they thought the reason it was crap was because of the vessel it was being served in. No, it was the product that was crap.
And then
and back in the day, there was also contact between the product and metal, and then people would say that the beer tasted metallic. These days, anything that is a can, inside here, you've got a lining, a plastic lining or something akin to plastic, and there is no actual physical contact between the product and the metal, so you cannot say that tastes metallic.
And then the other thing we probably encountered was that restaurants in particular wouldn't buy cans, because it does feel like when someone comes to your table and they don't have a draft line, they only have small pack, and they bring a can to you, it felt like it wasn't as a premium a product. So that's why we invest a lot more in branding to make it feel like it's premium still.
But you can't really make the pouring of a can a sexy experience. Whereas the pouring of a bottle can kind of look good.
But one of the other benefits, which we shouldn't need a benefit for, but unfortunately in our circumstance recently, we've had to do a product recall. If the same fault had occurred in bottles, that would have potentially killed people, exploding bottles. So it's not great, and it's not something we should have to factor in. But thankfully, it was a can, not a bottle, and that's happened in.
And
Good question, though.
The supplementary question is, can we have more brew that have got a York logo?
Yes,
it is lovely to, personally, from my perspective, to put a
local brewed,
a local brewed beer that actually says something about York.
Right. So when you say you want a locally produced beer with a York logo on,
so you talked about the Nickelgate Run, that was probably a bit down to York people to understand it, but something.
Okay, so you want beers where we're drawing local connections.
Yeah,
right.
I think it would do really well in the holiday letter, where we just leave a sample of Yorkshire stuff.
We have a few things coming. I think not in can, but the next one out in cask is going to be Merchant Adventurers XPA.
So all year round, we have a couple of beers always available that are York themed, because we've worked with York businesses. We have the Dungeons, Jess, what's that one? Dungeons and Flagons. So York Dungeon themed beer, and then we have. Genuinely.
The reason Emma has shouted out rather randomly Dick Slurping is because when we first worked with, I believe, the market manager at York Dungeons, they wanted to call the beer Dick Slurping, and we're like, no, that is not happening. It's kind of funny, but
doesn't make you want to buy the beer.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
Let's just say I'm not thinking of Dick Turpin with that.
So yeah. And then all year round we do a beer with we do with beers with the local sports team because we sponsor the football club and the rugby club. So we have a Minsterman Pride available all year round, and we have York City Knights, the Knights beer. Yeah, in cans. And then what other York themed ones or base ones? They all say Brew York on them, but
I suppose Viking Day there when we had it around kind of was, but like you already said, unfortunately the smokes put people off.
Well, it's a very close market, but yeah, I would appreciate some more York.
So as usual, we've overrun. So let's maybe answer one more question and let's wrap it up so we can get another beer.
So have we got one online that you've earmarked, or are we doing one in the room?
Yeah, let's go for this one. So you guys can't see it yet because it takes a few seconds to appear up on there.
So speaking of big beers, any new State of Mind releases planned? So I can tell you what the next two up are. I just can't tell you when they're coming because the powers that be have not told me when I'm allowed to release them yet.
Yeah, we're waiting. If you're in the chat thread, harass Yusuf. He's going to tell us when we're going to launch these.
So one is Barrel Aged Rum Sunday. Can you guess what type of barrels we use that one in? Rum barrels. See what we did there? Yeah. So Barrel Aged Rum Sunday's one, and then one that we're calling Buller Cake. BULL, separate word, cake.
Yes, this was also named
not
by Dick Slurpin.
Not what it kind of sounds like at first. Which is a barrel-aged Caribbean ginger cake beer.
So they're both really cool beers because we've actually got them packaged. We know what they taste like. We're just trying to coordinate the dates properly to launch them so that you guys get to enjoy them.
Okay. And on that rather big high, I think we'll draw that to a close.
Yeah. So
any feedback, once again, get it into info@brewyork.co.uk. Thank you for joining us once again. And to remind you, when's the next date?
7th of June, you said?
7th of June, yes. Because if I haven't already mentioned, I went download on the 14th.
Are you off with Sean from
I am. I'm going with Sean, head brewer of Siren, yes. So yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate you joining us. Thank you for all your interaction. Thank you for all your questions. We will see you next time to reiterate on the 7th of June.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.